Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hi everyone, it's Mr. Ala again. I'm your science teacher. We try to get you back on track, guys. We still in Unit 9. Unit 9 talking about energy. And if you guys remember, we said energy, it's the ability to cause change in matter. And in lesson 1, we did talk about forms of energy. Forms of energy. Alright? Now let's make a quick review about how many forms of energy did we talk about. And if you guys remember, we said there is many of forms of energy. We basically did talk about 6 forms of energy. We start with kinetic energy, then we did talk about potential energy, and we said the total of kinetic energy and potential energy, we call it mechanical energy. Alright? Then, if you guys remember the example of the lightning strike, the sound's energy, and light energy. Alright? Then we discuss 2 other energy forms: chemical energy and electrical energy. Alright, in our lesson today, we will study the new forms, as you guys know, and if you guys ever heard about heat energy. Heat energy. Let's talk about heating. Now, in lesson 3, okay, part 1, we will talk about heat. And we need to know what is the heat. Now I will show you a video, guys. Please pay attention to this video so we can write some notes after watching this video.
Heat energy. Everyone probably knows something about heat. We often use the word to describe something that feels hot when we touch it, or to describe a hot day. To fully understand what heat is, we first have to understand something about energy. Energy has to do with the movement of the particles that make up matter. If we were to look up close at the particles of something very cold, we would see them moving very slowly. If their movement is very slow, they have less energy than the particles that make up something that is hot. For example, particles of hot water in a pot would vibrate very quickly, so they would contain lots of energy. Heat is actually a form of energy that is being transferred from a substance at a higher temperature to another substance or substances at a lower temperature. Have you ever touched a hot pot that was on a stove? What happens when you touch it? It burns your hand because the heat energy is transferring from the hot pot to your hand. Your hand had a different temperature than the hot pot. Your hand was much cooler than the hot pot. Heat energy always travels from a hotter substance to the colder substance. In this case, it travels from the pot to your hand. Think about what happens to a mug of coffee when you pour hot coffee into it. The mug felt cool at first, but then felt hotter as you poured the hot coffee into it. The hot coffee transferred its heat energy to the mug, which was cooler. Heat is not the same as temperature. Have you ever used a thermometer to measure something's temperature? Temperature is a measure of the energy that matter contains, or how hot or cold it is. So, when you use a thermometer, you are measuring how fast or slow the particles in matter are moving. The faster the movement of the particles in an object, the higher the temperature of the object will be. Heat, once again, is the transfer of an object's energy to another object with a lower temperature. Heat energy is something that is very useful to all living things. In fact, no life would be possible on our planet without the light and heat energy from the sun. The sun makes it possible for all plants to grow. Plants, in turn, are needed by living things to consume. When we're in our homes or schools, we use heaters. These heaters heat the air right above them and eventually transfer this heat energy to the rest of the air in the room. This works in a way quite similar to how an oven transfers its heat to a bowl of liquid kept in it. The hot bowl transfers its heat energy to the liquid being heated. Toasters and coffee makers are two other sources of heat energy found in our homes. Can you think of any other source of heat energy? A fire of any kind is a source of heat energy. If you go camping, a fire will provide a nice source of heat energy on a cold night. A gas stove has a flame that is the source of heat for warming things up. Our own bodies produce heat. You can tell this by holding a piece of ice. After a few minutes, the heat energy from your body is transferred to the ice, causing it to melt. A bathtub that is filled with hot water can transfer its heat energy to a person who needs to be warmed up. Heat energy can be used for many things. The most obvious is for keeping us warm in our homes and cooking food on our stove. As mentioned before, a hot bath can be used to warm up our bodies. Heat energy is also used by plants to make food for themselves. In some places, there are hot sources of water found deep within the earth. These can be used as a source of electricity. When hot water is used to make electricity, this is called geothermal energy. Here is the summary of the lesson.
Okay guys, after watching this video, let's try to remember some notes that really important in our lesson that we should know. Let's write some notes. Okay, now note number 1, you have to know all the objects have heat but in different temperature. Now let's talk about note number 3, which is tell us the definition of heat. Heat is a form of energy, as you guys know. That move between objects in different temperature. Number 4, let's talk about Celsius and Fahrenheit. Both of them are a measuring unit of temperature. Just like the boiling water. The boiling water will start evaporate at 100 Celsius. Let's now talk about note number 5. That's the really important to our next lesson. It's heat move naturally from an object with a higher temperature to lower temperature. Okay, that's basically a summary of notes to our lesson today, the energy of heat. Now let's make highlights to our lesson, see what's really important things that we really need to know. Start from the beginning. This was the definition of temperature, is a measure how hot or cold something is. Then we already know energy move between objects that have different temperature. Okay, then we have the definition of heat is the energy that moves between objects of different temperature. Now the different in temperature make the energy move. All right, okay, now for your acknowledgement or for all right, one more things we need to know. Heat move naturally from an object with high temperature to one with a lower temperature. Heat moves from warmer object to a cooler object. Okay, now let's see this exercise page 449. Okay, I have a thermometer here which is Thermometer, it's a tool that can measure the temperature. Okay, I have two measures in Celsius and Fahrenheit. I have four pictures. Let's read the question. Temperature is measured in different scales. The two scales on this thermometer are Celsius and Fahrenheit. Write the letter of each picture at the appropriate place on the thermometer. Okay, now let's see picture A. This girl clothes trap heat near her body. Her jacket slow down energy transfer to the cold air. This girl stays warm while playing in the snow in temperature as low as 0 Celsius. So if we look at this thermometer, we will find the 0 Celsius here at this point. So picture number A will take place at 0 Celsius. Let's see picture number B, picture B. Picture B showing us the water coming from this shower heat. The shower heat hotter than the air around it. The average temperature of shower water is 42 Celsius. Now, if we look at thermometer, we will find the 42 Celsius at this point. So basically at this point, it will be picture B. Now picture C. Ice cubes melt as heat transfer to them from the warm air. The bottle of water is about 20 Celsius. If we look at the scale of this thermometer, we will find 20 at this point. So this will be letter C. Now the last picture talking about heat moves from burner to the kettle, from the kettle in the water, and then from the water vapor to the air. Water boils at 100 Celsius. Now if you look at the scale of this thermometer, you will find 100 Celsius here. So basically this will be number D. And that's all about our lesson today, part number 1. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys stay safe and well out there. Thank you so much.